Hi guys, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist, nomadcapitalist.com, here in Kuala Lumpur, and in this brief video I'm going to share with you why nobody in the investment immigration community, people who sell residences, people who sell passports, care much about US citizens or people from the West. I'm going to talk about why my feelings on that are a little bit different, but I'm going to share with you some numbers that show, yet again, why Westerners are a low priority. Now, we talk here a lot about how to get second passports, how to get second residence permits. You might do this because you want a plan B, you want an insurance policy, you want a place as part of a broader tax strategy. You're a US citizen and you want to get out of the US system. But I saw some numbers recently that came out of Greece. Greece has one of these quote-unquote golden visa programs where you invest in property and in exchange you get a residence permit. Some of these eventually lead to citizenship, others don't. Greece is actually starting to take off compared to some of the more established programs like Portugal. And when you look at the number of applications that came in last year, you see a very interesting statistic. Almost half of the applications came from China, about 44%. Next was 1 in 6 came from Russia. About 10%, 1 in 10, came from Turkey. And then you went through a whole list of countries from Lebanon, Egypt, Iraq, Iran, other Gulf countries, Jordan, whose citizenship program we talked about on a video here recently. All those countries combined, with Ukraine being the one European country thrown in for good measure, took up 91% of all the applications for these Greek visas. Now, I actually think that Ukraine it's pretty small position. I think it was 77 people. I think that Ukraine's actually going to fall back now that Ukraine has visa-free travel to Greece. You might see some people there who are trying to do some kind of tax scam, but becoming tax resident or getting a tax number in Greece seems like trying to avoid death by strangulation in favor of death by jumping up a bridge. But what you can see in those numbers is that China dominates, and that's true anywhere in the world. If you look at Australia, for example, something like 9 out of 10 people who are going through the investment scheme are Chinese. When my parents looked at going to Australia or New Zealand over 20 years ago, and were looking at their investment scheme regulations back then, where you agree to put in money into the economy, I can promise you the numbers weren't as big for Chinese. The Chinese presence, and to a lesser extent the Russian presence, and obviously to a lesser extent all these other countries put together from the Middle East, have been the biggest presence in growing citizenship by investment and also residence by investment. One quote I saw from someone in the industry says, we're going to see the number of citizenships by investment double in the next several years. That's not demand from people in France or people in Hungary, or even people in the United States. Obviously, when you look at some of these citizenship by investment programs, you have some US citizens doing that because they want the easiest, fastest path to renounce citizenship, and in many cases they want out of the tax system, they're tired of the paperwork, and paying $100,000 is a low price to pay to do that. Even then, US citizens don't make up a big part of it. So when you see all these big companies that are headquartered in Dubai, headquartered in Shanghai, have offices in all these emerging places, there's a reason for that. Now, obviously you can sell to people who live in the United States without being in the United States, but the focus of this industry really is on the emerging economies. Now, what I've done is someone who was born in the United States and who understands what people in the United States and Australia and Canada are dealing with. I've said, let those folks have that part of the industry. Let them have the 90%. I'll be over here with my little 2, 3, 4% of the industry because that's who I really understand. I don't understand, other than in a theoretical way, why a Chinese person wants a second passport. I can get it, but I don't feel it, and so that's why I don't work with people from China or India or other countries, because I don't feel there's as much of an authentic fit. I don't totally identify with them, and when I get together with people who are from the US and they're getting their second passport and we have dinner it's a real meeting of the minds in a way that it, wouldn't be if I were helping someone from China. This is important though, because you have to understand that all these different programs that are being developed, they don't have U.S. citizens in mind. Even though U.S. citizens are the only country's citizens who need passports to be able to get out of their own system for tax and other reasons, it's still a pretty minor thing. And as you see more and more Chinese millionaires, as you see more and more geopolitical strife, more and more nationalism in some parts of the world, you're going to see a lot of people. I think Latin America could be the next frontier for investment immigration, as some of those countries start to develop some issues of concern to their wealthy. That's what's driving this industry. And so things don't always match up perfectly if you're a U.S. citizen or if you're a Westerner. And that's why I think it's important to make sure that whatever you're doing when it comes to getting a second passport or setting up your second residence, that it is compliant and that it does solve your problem in your home country. Because very few folks out there are really speaking to that Western segment. So if you want to find out more about how to live the nomad capitalist lifestyle and how to do so as someone who is American, Australian, Canadian, definitely subscribe to our channel. Lots of good content that is designed to speak to you. You can also go to nomadcapitalist.com. Lots of resources there. Again, speaking to the US, Australian, Canadian, Western citizen. And we hope that you will follow us there as well.